is good timing. Good job, Little Shade. We sent him off to walk up here, so that way we have more time for other fun things. Because our friend had died, the spiderweb had less occupants on it, you could say, which means it could have carried more weight. And we were able to carry mushrooms on that spiderweb. And with that, we were able to carry some mushrooms down here. Because there was a dead end here. Look at that. I'm proud of it, even though we kind of got it wrong. We didn't get it horribly wrong, where it grew in the wrong place. But this is it. This is our triumph. And it doesn't say Matic. We can climb this. Here we go. Turns out, I want to go to this place after all. If you recall, the first day we were playing, we came to this cliff, and you can try to climb it. And the Shade will comment, well, I didn't want to go up there anyway. So this response, no, I actually do want to go here. Let's see what hidden delights await me here. A dead end. Well, this certainly isn't the reveal I hoped for. All of that feeling of victory, all of that feeling of wonder and amazement that we had reached with the thought that we can carry a mushroom to other places. We can grow in here? What mysteries await us? And it took us 2 days to finally reach here. Of all the places that we could take the mushroom, we could only bring it here, just here. And at the end, it's disappointment. This is that kind of game. Longing is a journey about self-depression and overcoming it. But the game doesn't do any hand-holding. You kind of have to figure it out for yourself. What do you do with your longing? Do you gain knowledge from it? Do you gain experience from it? Are you able to face your own darkness? I'm headed up here for a mushroom. But that here, near the very end, where we finally feel like we've just unlocked something new. This is a new thing. This is a secret. This is a new discovery. There's still more here to be found out. And then there isn't. It's such a huge letdown, because all of this time, since around day 100, we had pretty much seen everything. We've been everywhere. So to give us that hope, but then take it away from us. This one's brighter. We'll take this one with us. I guess it's what we make of it. Was the journey the meaningful thing or the destination? I know that's a well-known phrase, but on that journey, we were excited. And we did go out and explore again and look at places again that we haven't looked at in a long time. And we did find a reason to want to do that. So if we had that ability, then we could do it again. It's something for ourselves, something extrinsic to the game, that if we had that ability over our own emotions to make something that seemed pointless to be suddenly fascinating again, then what could we find to make your own longing, your own depression interesting? And that's part of that journey. I think this does show our growth, how far we've come, that we were able to overcome this wall. And even though we weren't honest with ourselves, right? We told ourselves we didn't want to go up here. But then now that we actually had the opportunity, who was I fooling? I actually really did want to come up here. And you were excited for it. The destination sucked, but the journey of overcoming that within ourselves and being honest and figuring out the tools within ourselves to be able to overcome that challenge. I think those are all meaningful things. No place to grow a mushroom, unfortunately. Climbing down here with a mushroom in hand is not a good idea. Might slip, break my hip. Well, that was a surprise. And you can't force it. Well, I'm pretty sure you can't force it. Let's try it a few times. I mean, what's going to happen if you broke a hip? Is he just going to walk a bit slower? But that reveals the last disappointment. I think that makes the number 15. We've only collected 14 of them ourselves. The 15th one is collecting, as we already know, 1,000,000 gold coins. And so far, there's not been anyone in the community who has done that. We can be thankful that the developer didn't create an achievement of finding all the depressions or the disappointments. I think that's the fun thing about theories in games, that they're there are these hidden meanings that exist sometimes. It's also true in music, where sometimes you just enjoy the song because it just sounds good, it makes you feel good. But then when you stop and listen to the words, it's contrary to the feeling of the song itself. But with the game, we play it sometimes just for the surface level, just for the adventure, to try to get the best ending, to do the good thing. There was a lot of people we've mentioned before, who when they played this game, they were very careful and cautious about doing things because they thought it would have an impact on their ending. And they didn't want a bad ending. They wanted to be a good shade. But then when they discover you don't have to do those things, you can do whatever you want, it's kind of, you lose that little bit of having to overcome it yourself. You know, when you're told just the game mechanic and how the game mechanic works, I think that's the whole psychological point of overcoming that within yourself and then deciding, you know what, screw the good ending. I'm going to do this because this is what I want to do. And reaching that point within yourself where you're like, you know what, I need to know what's beyond. My longing compels me to do so. And having that authentic feeling, I think that's how you get the most out of this game. But you can't force the player to have an authentic feeling. I think that's why we have so many people making videos about what this game means, or what's the symbolism behind this game. The first time I played the game, I did play it without any knowledge of anything about it. I didn't look up anything online. Not until after I was finished playing through it, and my best friend had also finished playing through it. And then when I had questions, I didn't turn to the internet. Instead, I turned back to the game and started to play again. I guess for me, it's that authentic feeling of discovery, such as the place we had just discovered. I didn't discover that in my first playthrough of the game. It was only in my second playthrough that I had pondered and wanted to look around and seek out more. We're going to take a quick detour. And look at that. I think I did point this out on a previous stream. The brick above. A strange book. This book will be fun to read for sure. And that should be all of the books. I think we are missing one, and that's because I think of a bug that happened in the hidden area. where we only picked up one book, and then we just hung out. And then when the game reloaded, it didn't load up the other books that we hadn't collected, or book. Because I do believe there's supposed to be 44 books. I'll probably double check that when I'm offline. But that's okay. We have 2 new books. So we're gonna go see what our new treasures are. Then we're gonna do some reading. The reading is gonna help to pass time because 35 days from now, 25 days from now, 26, will be our birthday. And it perhaps seems like a silly thing. Why would a birthday have significance to this creature, this shade? I think that adds to the theory that this is not the shade's first life, but an afterlife, because nobody's taught him about birthdays. It's just something he intrinsically knows for himself, and it's within his own thoughts that before the 400 days comes to an end, he'll have his birthday. Being a creature that lives underground, what does he even need to know what days are for? It's only relevant to the king. And the shade kind of questions it, like, what is a day, really? He can measure it to some degree, but he doesn't really know what they are. But sure enough, passing a little bit of extra time. I think we're spending 23 seconds per second at home, which means we have about 3 days to fill. We'll leave the shade when we finish stream, reading the last book of Monte Cristo, so that's going to help us. We'll read some more Zarathustra, which will also help us. And if we need to, I think tomorrow we'll play some music, just to celebrate. What do we got? The Sleeper Awakes. It's a big book. In the fog. Strange, to wander in the fog, each bush and stone stands alone. No tree sees the next one. Each is alone. My world was full of friends when my life was filled with light. Now as the fog descends, none is still to be seen. Truly, there is no wise man who does not know the dark, which quietly and inescapably separates him from everything else. Strange to wander in the fog. To live is to be alone. No man knows the next man. Each is alone. We are missing one book. It's okay. We could Perhaps tomorrow, perhaps after celebrating our birthday, if there's still time left, we'll go and look for the secret door, and we'll have a jump inside, see if that last book is hiding there somewhere. Either that, or perhaps it's appeared in the halls of eternity. So I was considering, we're definitely not going to be able to get through this book, and then the fourth book of Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And in some ways, it seems like something Zarathustra himself would do, to leave his followers and say, figure out enlightenment on your own. Don't follow my path, but find your own. And I could just say, read the rest of the book yourself. But, I've been considering speedrunning this game. So if I'm speedrunning, or practicing to speedrun, that means we're going to be in the game more. And if we're going to be playing the game more, I could read more Zarathustra. It wouldn't be for the same purpose of filling time. It would just be for the sake of finishing the book. Becoming our own Superman in a way by speedrunning the game. Let's just live life faster. It's kind of silly when you think about it symbolically, what speedrunning would mean in a game like this. Right. Those are thoughts that I'm pondering, but let us read. It looks like level 1. This is 56. Old and new tables. Here do I sit and wait. Old broken tables around me, and also new half-written tables. When cometh mine hour? The hour of my descent, of my down-going. For once more will I go unto men. For that hour do I now wait. For first must the signs come unto me, that it is mine hour, namely, the laughing lion with the flock of doves. Meanwhile, do I talk to myself as one who hath time, no one telling me anything new, so I tell myself mine own story. When I came unto men, I found what? When I came unto man, then found I them resting on an old infatuation. All of them thought they had long known it was good and bad for men. An old wearisome business seemed to them all discourse about virtue, and he who wished to sleep well spake of good, and bad ere retiring to rest. This somnolence did I disturb, when I taught that no one yet knoweth what is good and bad, lest it be the creating one. Is it he, however, who createth man's goal, and giveth to the earth its meaning and its future? He only effecteth it that aught is good or bad. And I made them upset their old academic chairs, and wherever that old infatuation had sat, I bade them laugh at their great moralists, their saints, their poets, and their saviors. At their gloomy sages did I bid them laugh, and whoever had sat admonishing as a black scarecrow on the tree of life, on their great grave highway did I seat myself, and even beside the carrion and vultures, and I laughed at all their bygone and its mellow decaying glory. Verily, like penitential preachers and fools did I cry wrath and shame on all their greatness and smallness, that their best is so very small, that their worst is so very small. Thus did I laugh. Thus did my wise longing, born in the mountains, cry and laugh in me, a wild wisdom, verily, my great pinion-wrestling longing. And oft did it carry me oft and up and away, and in the midst of laughter, then flew I quivering like an arrow with sun-intoxicated rapture, out into distant futures, which no dream hath yet seen, into warmer souths than ever sculptor conceived, where gods in their dancing are ashamed of all clothes, that I may speak in parables, and halt and stammer like the poets, and verily I am ashamed that I still to be a poet, that I have still to be a poet. Speaking of stammering, we're all becoming seemed to me dancing of gods and wantoning of gods, the world unloosened and unbridled and fleeing back to itself, as an eternal self-flaying and re-seeking of one another of many gods, as the blessed self-contradicting, re-communing, and refraternizing with one another of many gods, where all time seemed to me a blessed mockery of moments, where necessity was freedom itself, which played happily with the goad of freedom, where I also found again mine old devil, an arch-enemy, the spirit of gravity, and all that it created, constraint, law, necessity and consequence and purpose, and will and good and evil. Or must there not be that which is danced over, danced beyond? Must there not, for the sake of the nimble, the nimblest, be moles and clumsy dwarves? There was it also where I picked up from the path the word Superman, and that man is something that must be surpassed. That man is a bridge, not a goal, rejoicing over his noontides and evenings as advances to new rosy dawns. The Zarathustra word and the great noontide, and whatever else I have hung up over men like purple evening afterglows, verily also new stars did I make them see, along with new nights, and over cloud and day and night did I spread out laughter like a gay-colored canopy. I taught them all my poetization and aspiration to compose and collect into unity what is fragment in man and riddle and fearful chance. As composer, riddle reader, and redeemer of chance, did I teach them to create the future, and all that hath been to redeem by creating, the past of man to redeem, and every it was to transform, until the will saith, but so did I will it, so shall I will it. This did I call redemption, this alone taught I them to call redemption. Now do I await my redemption, that I may go unto them for the last time. Once more will I go unto man, amongst them will my sun set. In dying, will I give them my choicest gift. From the sun did I learn this. When it goeth down, the exuberant one, gold, doth it then pour into the sea, out of inexhaustible riches, so that the poorest fisherman roweth even with golden oars. For this did I once see, did not tire of weeping in beholding it. Like the sun will also Zarathustra go down. Now sitteth he here and waiteth. Old broken tables around him, and also new tables written. Damn, that was poetic. Like, I know this chapter wasn't done yet, but it was kind of a reflection of everything that's happened so far. Because he did mention in the beginning, he did lay down, what did he say here? About what's good and bad. He did lay down this thought, like before going to bed, what is good and what is bad. And he mentioned that every day you must deal with your own devils and you must face them. Because if you don't face them, then they will be the things that keep you up at night. And those are things of virtue for yourself. Things that if you are not virtuous, that you will ponder and think about. And so you should spend the time to think about them, not hide from them, or else you'll never sleep. So he did talk about what was good and evil, but then is he saying now that he is overcoming it? That he is overcoming talking about good and evil? Or is he saying that what he laid down as good and evil is the new thing, the thing that's different? from the way people used to think was good and evil, being based around religion. And that's what he's repaved. And he mentions the creating man. Imagine if you were a deity and you were creating purpose for life. Then would it not be that person who's defining what is good, what is evil? Kind of like the developer of the game. When somebody's first playing the game and they were told these things and they have their thought in their head saying, oh, well, this is going to be a bad thing. I don't want to do the bad thing. I don't want to build a bad ending. I don't want to do anything that's going to be negative or the king will punish me for it later. I don't want to do those things. But then repaving that way, saying, look, that's not what good and evil is. Get rid of that. Go strive and do something with yourself. Explore this world, these caves. Go out there, and even if there might be a punishment, do it anyway, because that's what's meaningful to you. That's where purpose lies in doing those things, even if it is risky, to find that within yourself, to overcome that inability or the desire to not do it just because of the sake of it having that label of it being a bad thing. Is it though? And when we learn about the creator of the game, that this is not going to have an effect on the ending at all. Oh, okay. That's what I thought was good and evil is not good and evil at all anyway. It's something completely different. And that's what Zarathustra is saying that he did for mankind by pointing out these things of religion and striving after them, that what they thought was good and evil is not. It's something beyond even that. But then he mentions the sun, that when the sun goes down is when it shines in a beautiful way. And he's imagining himself, when he dies, that he is going to give something to mankind, to people. He won't tell us what it is yet. I guess that's just the nature of a book. It has to keep you wanting to read, right? Behold, here is a new table. Actually, before I read that table, I'm going to walk over to that table and grab a drink. I have a small standing desk for my computer. It's kind of wobbly sometimes. I don't put drinks on it, just because if it wobbles in the wrong direction, poof, there goes everything. Behold, here is a new table. But where are my brethren, who will carry it with me to the valley and into the hearts of flesh? Thus demandeth my great love to the remotest ones, be not considerate of thy neighbor. Man is something that must be surpassed. There are many divers ways and modes of surpassing. See thou thereto, but only a buffoon thinketh man can also be overleapt. Surpass thyself, even in thy neighbor, and a right which thou canst seize upon. Shalt thou not allow to be given thee? What thou doest can no one do to thee again. Lo, there is no requital. He who cannot command himself shall obey, and many a one can command himself, but still sorely lacketh self-obedience. 5. Thus wisheth the type of noble souls, the desire to have nothing gratuitously, lest of all, life. He who is of the populace wisheth to live gratuitously. We others, however, to whom life hath given itself, we are ever considering what we can best give in return. And verily, it is a noble dictum which saith, what life promiseth us, that promise we keep to life. One should not wish to enjoy where one doth not contribute to the enjoyment, and one should not wish to enjoy for enjoyment and innocence are the most bashful things. Neither like to be sought for. One should have them, but one should rather seek for guilt and pain. My brethren, he who is a firstling is ever sacrificed. Now, however, are we firstlings. We all bleed on secret sacrificial altars. We all burn and boil in honor of ancient idols. Our best is still young. This exciteth old palates. Our flesh is tender. Our skin is only lambskin. How could we not excite old idol priests? In ourselves dwelleth he still, the old idol priest, who broileth our best for his banquet. My brethren, how could firstlings fail to be sacrifices? So wisheth our type, and I love those who do not wish to preserve themselves. The downgoing ones do I love with mine entire love, for they go beyond. To be true, that can few be, and he who can will not. Least of all, however, can the good be true. The good ones, good men never speak the truth, for the spirit thus to be good is a malady. They yield, those good ones, they submit themselves, their heart repeateth, their soul obeyeth. He, however, who obeyeth, doth not listen to himself. All that is called evil by the good must come together in order that one truth may be born. My brethren, are ye also evil enough for this truth? The daring venture, the prolonged distrust, the cruel, nay, the tedium, the cutting into the quick, how seldom do these come together? Out of such seed, however, is truth produced. Beside the bad conscience hath hitherto grown all knowledge. Break up, ye discerning ones, the old tables. When the water hath planks, when gangways and railings o'erspan the stream, verily, he is not believed, who then saith, all is in flux. But even the simpletons contradict him. What, say the simpletons? All in flux. Planks and railings are still over the stream. Over the stream all is stable. All the values of things, the bridges and bearings, all good and evil. These are all stable. Cometh, however, the hard winter, the stream tamer. Then learn even the wittiest distrust, and verily, not only the simpletons, then say, should not everything stand still? Fundamentally, standeth everything still. That is an appropriate winter doctrine, good cheer for an unproductive period, a great comfort for winter sleepers and fireside loungers. Fundamentally, standeth everything still, but contrary thereto, preacheth the thawing wind. The thawing wind, a bullock, which is no ploughing bullock, a furious bullock, a destroyer, which with angry horns breaketh the ice. The ice, however, breaketh gangways. My brethren, is not everything at present in flux? Have not all railings and gangways fallen into the water? Who would still hold on to good and evil? Woe to us, hail to us, the thawing wind bloweth. Thus preach, my brethren, through all the streets. There is an old illusion. It's called good and evil. Around soothsayers and astrologers hath hitherto revolved the orbit of this illusion. Once did one believe in soothsayers and astrologers, and therefore did one believe. Everything is fate. Thou shalt, for thou must. Then again, did one distrust all soothsayers and astrologers, and therefore did one believe. Everything is freedom. Thou canst, for thou willest. My brethren, concerning the stars in the future, there hath hitherto been only illusion, and not knowledge, and therefore, concerning good and evil, there hath hitherto been only illusion, and not knowledge. This is long. This is like chapters within a chapter. Why did he do this? 10. Thou shalt not rob. Thou shalt not slay. Such precepts were once called holy. Before them did one bow the knee and the head, and take off one's shoes. But I ask you, where have there ever been better robbers and slayers in the world than such holy precepts? Is there not even in all life robbing and slaying? And for such precepts to be called holy, was not truth itself thereby slain? Or was it a sermon of death that called holy what contradicted and dissuaded from life? My brethren, break up. Break up for me the old tables. Okay, kind of switching topics, jumping around, but this whole thought about astrologers and soothsayers and it just being wrong. I feel like he could have put more breath in these words. The thought of the path is not written for you. It's not about a destiny and you just walk the path of destiny. But instead, he's saying the power of will. Your will creates paths. It creates, I like to say it creates destiny, because sometimes it does feel like things come together in a very strange way. It must therefore be destiny. But what if your will is what creates destiny? It's, I like to use the analogy of people playing a Dungeons and Dragons game. You have the storyteller, the dungeon master, the one who's controlling all the NPCs and the people you meet and who you talk to and stuff. And for them, their goal, the goal of the creator, is to create the path, to create the adventure before the players actually get there. Because if the players get there and the dungeon master hasn't prepared a list of enemies or things for an encounter, for a dungeon, then you're not really going to have a good time. So there's an illusion of choice that the players have of, let's go to this place. Yeah, we'll go to that dungeon. And then the dungeon master, when they get a break in playing the game, will go off and say, okay, the game ended here, where they're going off to this place. I'm going to create an encounter that may take them off their path, or I may allow them to go to the dungeon. And once they get there, I need to plan out. What are the maps? What does it look like? What's the treasure? What's the rewards? How am I going to use this as a mechanic to divert things back to the main story? You know, so in some ways, the game master is creating, I call that creating process destiny. It's creating destiny, but it was at the control of the will of the players to go someplace that may have seemed off rails, but now that creator has to create something there to exist. And so I like to think that destiny and will go hand in hand in some ways. When you have that feeling of things coming together and it's like, it's destiny, it was just meant to be. Well, okay, but it was your will that kind of set that wheel in motion for needing those things to come together for that purpose, because you have this will to go out and do things that is creating the potential for those things to happen. It's something I talk about with friends, with destiny, with tarot, with astrology. I can go on to much more lengths about this, but perhaps another day. It's a fun topic for me. All right, okay, where were we? Sermon of Death. Yep, 11. It is my sympathy with all the past. I see it is abandoned to the fervor, the spirit and the madness of every generation that cometh, and reinterpreteth all that hath been as its bridge. A great potentiate might arise, an artful prodigy, who with approval and disapproval could constrain all the past, until it became for him a bridge, a harbinger, a herald, and a cock-crowing. This, however, is the other danger, and mine other sympathy. He who was of the populace, his thoughts go back to his grandfather. With his grandfather, however, doth time cease. Thus is all the past abandoned, for it might some day happen for the populace to become master, and drown all time in shallow waters. Therefore, my brethren, a new nobility is needed, which shall be the adversary of all populace and potentiate rule, and shall inscribe anew the word noble on new tables. For many noble ones are needed, and many kinds of noble ones, or a new nobility, or, as I once said in parable, that is just divinity, that there are gods, but no God. 12. My brethren, I consecrate you and point you to a new nobility. Ye shall become procreators and cultivators and sowers of the future. Verily, not to a nobility which ye could purchase, like traders with traders' gold, for little worth is all that hath its price. Let it not be your honor henceforth, whence ye come, but whither ye go. Your will and your feet which seek to surpass you, let those be your new honor. Verily, not that ye have served a prince of what accounts are princes now, nor that ye have become a bulwark to that which standeth, that it may stand more firmly. Not that your family have become courtly at courts, or that ye have learned, gay-colored, like the flamingo, to stand long hours in shallow pools. For ability to stand is merit in courtiers, and all courtiers believe that unto blessedness after death pertaineth permission to sit, nor even that a spirit called holy led your forefathers into promised lands, which I do not praise. For where the worst of all trees grew, the cross, in that land there is nothing to praise. And verily, wherever this Holy Spirit led its knights, always in such campaigns did goats and geese and wryheads and guyheads run foremost. My brethren, not backwards shall your nobility gaze, but outward. Exiles shall ye be from all fatherlands and forefatherlands. Your children's land shall ye love. But this love be your new nobility, the undiscovered in the remotest seas. For it do I bid your sails search. Unto your children shall ye make amends for being the children of your fathers. All the past shall ye thus redeem. This new table do I place over you. Going back again to earlier books, the things where he said about making a land for your children. And your children, if they be the Superman, you need to prepare the land for them to inherit and to look for that land and create that land, that place where the Superman could live and exist. Table, I'm believing to be like a tablet. Is he imagining something like out of like biblical scripture where there are these holy tablets? Because he's talking about breaking tables and he's writing new tables. But he doesn't have anyone to carry them with him, or like when he goes to die. Is this what he's planning, to just come down off the mountain like some scriptural saint with tables, which are just tablets? These are my commandments, and thus I die. Or, no, more fitting would be, and thus I spake. Zarathustra. Bleh, dead. Sorry, it's comedic. Why should one live? All is vain. To live, that is to thrash straw. To live, that is to burn oneself, and yet not get warm. Such ancient babbling still passeth for wisdom, because it is old, however, and smelleth mustily. Therefore is it the more honored, even mold ennobleth. Children might thus speak. They shun the fire because it hath burned them. There is much childishness in the old books of wisdom, and he, whoever thrasheth straw, why should he be allowed to rail at thrashing? Such a fool one would have to muzzle. Such persons sit down to the table and bring nothing with them, not even good hunger, and then do they rail. All is vain. But to eat and drink well, my brethren, is verily no vain art. Break up for me the tables of the never joyous ones. To the clean are all things clean. Thus say the people. I, however, say unto you, to the swine all things become swinish. Therefore, preach the visionaries and bowed heads, whose hearts are also bowed down. The world itself is a filthy monster. For these are all unclean spirits, especially those, however, who have no peace or rest, unless they see the world from the backside, the backworldsmen. To those do I say it to the face, although it sound unpleasantly, the world resembleth man, and that it hath a backside. So much is true. There is in the world much filth. So much is true, but the world itself is not therefore a filthy monster. There is wisdom in the fact that much in the world smelleth badly. Loathing itself createth wings, and fountain divining powers. In the best there is still something to loathe, and the best is still something that must be surpassed. My brethren, there is much wisdom in the fact that much filth is in the world. 15. Such sayings did I hear pious backworldsmen speak to their consciences, and verily without wickedness or guile, although there is nothing more guileful in the world, or more wicked. Let the world be as it is, raise not a finger against it. Let whoever will choke and stab and skin and scrape the people, raise not a finger against it. Thereby will they learn to renounce the world, and thine own reason. This shalt thou thyself stifle and choke, for it is a reason of the world. Thereby wilt thou learn thyself to renounce the world. Shatter, my brethren, those old tables to the pious. Tatter the maxims of the world maligners. 16. He who learneth much unlearneth all violent cravings. That do people now whisper to one another in all the dark lanes. Wisdom wearieth, nothing is worth while. Thou shalt not crave. This new table found I hanging even in the public markets. Break up for me, O my brethren, break up. Also that new table. The weary of the world put it up, and the preachers of death and the jailer were low. It is also a sermon for slavery, because they learned badly and not the best, and everything too early and everything too fast, because they ate badly. From thence hath resulted their ruined stomach. For a ruined stomach is their spirit. It persuadeth to death. For verily, my brethren, spirit is the stomach. Life is a well of delight, but to him, in whom the ruined stomach speaketh, the father of affliction, all fountains are poisoned. To discern, that is delight, to the lion-willed. But he who hath become weary is himself merely willed. With him play all the waves. And such is always the nature of weak men. They lose themselves on their way, and at last asked their weariness, why did we ever go on the way? All is indifferent. To them soundeth it pleasant to have preached in their ears. Nothing is worth while. Ye shall not will. That, however, is a sermon for slavery. My brethren, a flesh-blustering wind cometh Zarathustra, unto all way-weary ones. Many noses will he yet make sneeze. Even though walls bloweth my free breath, and into prisons and imprisoned spirits. Willing emancipateth, for willing is creating, and so do I teach. And only for creating shall ye learn, and also the learning shall ye learn only from me, the learning well. He who hath ears, let him hear. Sounds a bit like scripture there. The learning ye shall learn only from me. Whatever. It's kind of contradictory to finding your own path, right? You shall learn the learning from me. There standeth the boat. Thither go it over, perhaps into vast nothingness. But who willeth to enter into this perhaps? None of you want to enter into the death boat. How should ye then be world-weary ones? World-weary ones, and have not even withdrawn from the earth. Eager did I ever find you for the earth, amorous still of your own earth-weariness. Not in vain doth your lip hang down, a small worldly wish still sitteth thereon, and in your eye floateth there not a cloudlet of unforgotten earthly bliss. There are on the earth many good inventions, some useful, some pleasant, for the sake of the earth to be loved. And many such good inventions are there, that they are like women's breasts, useful at the same time and pleasant. Ye world-weary ones, however, ye earth-idlers, you shall one beat with stripes. With stripes shall one again make you sprightly limbs. For if ye be not invalids or decrepit creatures, of whom the earth is weary, then are ye sly sloths or dainty sneaking pleasure cats. If ye will run, if ye will not again run gaily, then shall ye pass away. Okay, the wording is brutal. To the incurable shall one not seek to be a physician. Thus teacheth Zarathustra, so shall ye pass away. But more courage is needed to make an end than to make a new verse. That do all physicians and poets know well. So if you want a cure from things, then you would need to have the courage to become like a physician. You have to cure yourself, right? Or want to even cure yourself, because if you don't, then you passeth away. And you should will again to run, because if you're not running, then you would pass away. He's kind of saying, it's a weird way of saying, if you're not with me, you're against me, kind of thing. Because those of you who are with me, you're willing to run. You're the ones who are willing to tear down these old tables. And if you're just feeling like you're a backworldsman, where it's like, those things don't really matter. Yeah, those people have their world, but we enjoy our world. We enjoy our fantasy. That's where we exist. Well, okay, that's fun and all, but you're doing it because you don't like the world. Take pride in your world and do something with it. That's why he hates backworldsmen. That's the phrase that he taught us in, I think, the second book, what backworldsmen are. Might have been the first one. But also these people who go out for the sake of pleasure, but they're secretive about it. The sly sloths, or it's a lot of weird terminology that he's created throughout all the books so far. But yeah, I can kind of sum it up to that feeling of, if you're not with me, you're against me. So those of you who do feel like you're against me, why are you not with me? It's perhaps because of this, that you're this type of person, or you're that type of person. And he's kind of casting them into these images of, you're the reason why the world is bad. Of course you would be against it. Kind of saying that they're a useless type of person anyway, and that he wants the world to be rid of those people. My brethren, there are tables which weariness framed, tables which slothfulness framed, corrupt slothfulness. Although they speak similarly, they want to be heard differently. Also, 18. See this languishing one, only a span breadth is he from his goal, but from weariness hath he laid down. Obstantially in the dust, this brave one, from weariness yawneth he at the path, at the earth, at the goal, and at it himself. Not a step further will he go, this brave one. Now gloweth the sun upon him, and the dogs look at his sweat, but he lieth there in his obstinacy, I'm saying that one incorrectly, and preferreth to languish, the span breadth from his goal, to languish. Verily, you will have to drag him into his heaven by the hair of his head, this hero. Better still, that ye let him lie where he hath lay down, that sleep may come unto him, the comforter, with cooling patter rain. Let him lie, until of his own accord he awakeneth, until of his own accord he repudiateth all weariness. I don't know what this word is. It sounds made up. And what weariness hath taught through him. Only, my brethren, see that ye scare the dogs away from him, the idle skulkers, and all the swarming vermin, the cultured, that feast on the sweat of every hero. Okay, so he's kind of like saying, he's so close to the end, you could just drag him by his hair to his victory. But don't do that. Just let them lay there. It's better that they awaken and refresh themselves and gather that courage to cross that line themselves. It's better that they find it within themselves, the will to figure that out, but keep the bad things away from them while they're going through whatever it is they're going through. But don't take away their victory. It's kind of like a person playing a video game. I'm stuck. How do I get through this thing? Don't just, since it's like the last puzzle of the game, don't just tell them. Don't take away that victory from them. And even if they're like, but I hate the game, but it's so stupid. It's like, just help. Let them sit and languish with their frustration until they figure it out for themselves and achieve that victory, because if you're just going to give it away to them, then it's not going to be a victorious thing for them. Let them find it within themselves to actually want it, to figure it out. And they may hate you for it, but Zarathustra is saying, that's the better thing to do. 19. I form circles around me and holy boundaries. Ever fewer ascend with me and ever higher mountains. I build a mountain range out of ever holier mountains. But whenever ye would ascend with me, my brethren, take care lest a parasite ascend with you. A parasite, that is a reptile, a creeping, cringing reptile that trieth to fatten on your infirm and sore places. And this is its art. It divineth, where ascending souls are weary, in your trouble and dejection, in your sensitive modesty, doth it build its loathsome nest. Where the strong are weak, where the noble are all too gentle, there buildeth it its lonesome nest. The parasite liveth where the great have small, sore places. What is the highest of all species of being? What is the lowest? The parasite is the lowest species. Whoever who is of the highest species feedeth most parasites. For the soul, which hath the longest ladder, can go the deepest down, how could there fail to be most paras? I'm such stumbling through this. I think I'm going to come back and try to read that one again. Okay, there's more. There's a 20. I think what's happening here is these are the tables that Zarathustra has written, his like commandments, and he's like up to 19 now. That's what we're reading. That's why it's not a chapter. That's why they're sub-chapters, rather. These are like his major points that he's putting down. So yeah, I was trying to push forward just to see when does this chapter end, but I can see there's far more. And we'll let him do his thing, but we're going to do ours. And our thing would be time for a break. I can feel it in the way I'm stumbling through words. So we will leave it here, and we will find a book for our shade to read. I believe he's finished this one. Yes. Yeah. It's funny that this is a blank page. I took it personally because the day before he slept soundly. It seemed very fitting for what we were doing, going back up to visit our friend. And then the next day, nothing? Well, it is fitting, considering what we found. But this game does, it has the essence of facing your self-depression. So, in some ways, I found that fitting just as well. But here we go. Chapter 85 of the journey. We're going to let the Shade finish off his series of Monte Cristo, and hopefully tomorrow we'll be close enough to our birthday that we can push through, reach our birthday, and explore what that means. Till then, enjoy your book, Shade, and the end of your stories, because he'll be finishing Monte Cristo. I wonder, with some of the books we've finished, the Shade will sometimes have something to say. Will he have something to say about this?